coming up on the February 18th edition of Carolina Week. The man charged with the murders of 3 young people in Chapel Hill is set to appear in court early next month. We have an update about the case.
The time has come for another match against the Blue Devils, but will the Heels be able to make the 8-mile trek to Durham?
Or will the snow and ice cause a game delay like last year? All that and more.
Carolina Week starts right now.
From the UNC School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering Carolina in HD, this is Carolina Week.
Many on our campus are still mourning the loss of a dental student who touched many lives. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Tew.
And I'm Kristen Lee. His new bride, also killed, was about to enter the dental program. We have team coverage of this story, but first, a winter weather update. Drew Day, UNC has seen its first snow of the winter, nothing like Boston, but enough to change the routine. Snow began to fall on Monday evening, slowly but surely dusting the ground. And after only a few hours, enough had accumulated for students to enjoy the cold temperatures, kept snow and ice on the ground Tuesday, with secondary roads and sidewalks remaining covered. Let's get right over to Drew Day for a quick look ahead for the rest of the week.
All right, thanks, Kristen. And we are seeing snow out there again right now. I stepped outside just a few moments ago, and it's actually coming down pretty hard. So we're starting to see a little bit of accumulation out there. So we expect perhaps dusting to a ½ an inch because it is coming down a little bit harder than anticipated. So be aware of that as you're out and about this evening. We will have some ice patches on the roadways because temperatures will be dropping below freezing later on this evening. In addition, the wind will be strong as well, with the northwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Gusting up to 30 at times. That can make it feel like below zero in many locations. And it is not just tonight that we're going to have to deal with the winter weather. It will be cold on Thursday and Friday as well. And I'll talk about that coming up in just a few minutes in your regular weather segment in just about 10 minutes. Elizabeth?
Certainly cold out there. Thanks, Drew. Switching gears now. The 46-year-old Craig Hicks is behind bars tonight after the grand jury indicted him on 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of discharging a firearm into an occupied dwelling. Hicks turned himself in after the shooting deaths of 3 Muslim students in Chapel Hill. Hicks is being held in Central Prison without bond. Records filed in Durham County Superior Court on Friday show 4 handguns, 2 shotguns, and 6 rifles were recovered from Hicks' apartment. The warrant states officers found a male subject and 2 female subjects, all unresponsive. Police identified the victims as 23-year-old UNC dental student Dia Barakat.
My name is Dia Barakat. I'm a dental student at UNC. And I need your help.
His wife, Yusur Abu Salah, 21, and her sister, Razan Abu Salah, a 19-year-old student at North Carolina State. The shooting happened last Tuesday around 5 p.m. at the Finley Forest condominiums on Summerwalk Circle.
And I just heard gunshots. I don't know what building it came from, but I heard kids screaming.
Police blame an ongoing dispute about parking as a factor, but are also investigating the possibility this was a hate crime, a possibility the attorney for Hicks' wife denied.
This had nothing to do with any kind of religious beliefs or anything. This was just about a guy who snapped.
In a statement, President Obama said no one in the U.S. should ever be targeted because of who they are, what they look like, or how they worship. To make his first appearance after the grand jury indictment in Superior Court on March 4th. The shooting prompted an outpouring of support for the victims, including several vigils across the state.
The UNC and NC State communities are still shaken by the loss of the 3 students. CB Cotton joins us now live from our satellite studio with remembrances of those whose lives a gunman cut tragically short.
Kristen, in dark times like these, family and friends of the victims are encouraging people to remember the bright light that Dia, Yusur, and Razan brought to the community. On Wednesday, an estimated 2,000 gathered in the pit to mourn the loss of Dia Barakat, his wife Yusur Abu Salah, and her sister Razan Abu Salah. Chancellors Carol Folt of UNC and Randy Woodson of NC State spoke about the students' lives of service. Nada Salim shed tears recalling memories of her friends.
I want everyone to remember them, please, only for in the good, and not to cry when you hear their names, but to laugh at how clumsy Dia was playing basketball, and how Yusur loved having pancakes for breakfast, dinner, and lunch, and Harrison loved to read, and she was so geeky but so cute.
But it was the words of Ferris Bodicott, Dia's brother, that encouraged everyone to live his family's legacy.
And do not fight fire with fire. If it is quite possible that this was an act based off of evil and a scared, ignorant man, do not let ignorance propagate in your life. Do not reply to ignorance with ignorance. Become an amazing, bright, intellectual leader that I know this university can create.
And it's the bright light of Dia, Yusor, and Razan that will continue to live on in the hearts and minds of all who knew them. In Chapel Hill, I'm CB Cotton reporting. And Kristen, both families have been very active on social media and sent out numerous messages to people in the area and globally, thanking them for their support during this very difficult time.
Such a sad time for all of us here at the university. CB Cotton live in our satellite studio. Thank you. Provost James Dean sent out a note to the deans Monday evening in response to claims that some professors aren't doing enough to aid students affected by the tragedy. He said, in part, "I'm asking you to communicate to your faculty that the chancellor and I would like them to take every step possible to ease the burden on these students, even if this means going beyond what is in their syllabus. Extraordinary times call for extraordinary responses."
Moving on to other news, paying for college can be expensive, and UNC's tuition could increase next year. Our AJ Nwoko sat down with 3 students to find out how the proposed increase would affect their time at UNC.
2, 3. For sophomore ROTC student Griffin Buskill, this is what paying for college looks like. It's work, physical work, and not just in the classroom.
The United States Navy is paying my tuition and fees and also providing me a small stipend each month, and then I'm paying room and board through my parents.
And Buskill says this program is more than just a way to pay for college.
It means opportunity. It means just opening doors after I leave University of North Carolina.
But for nursing student Haley Hamilton, the opportunities of college go beyond the $7,500 in loans she takes out every year.
There is, just tuition and fees, of course, is extremely expensive. But when you start adding thousands of dollars of textbooks and all that sort of stuff, it really adds up.
And even with a $20,000 Teaching Fellow Scholarship, graduate student Brian Warwick says he expects to pay back nearly $50,000 in loans.
So while it did give me that cushion at the beginning, it's almost like I almost got shafted in the end.
And in the end, it's not just tuition that's going up. State funding is going down. According to a study from the U.S. Government Accountability Office, this is a trend that's been playing out in the past decade.
Since 2007, state funding for public colleges in North Carolina have lost over $1 billion, while tuition has doubled through the last decade. And across the nation, revenue from state sources is down nearly 10%, while tuition is up 8%. And for Hamilton, Warwick, and even Buskill, it means taking out more loans when scholarships and grants run out.
It's a lot of stress.
I think it's absurd. I think it's getting a little ridiculous.
With tuition at state universities expected to increase by almost 4% next year, this situation might get worse before it gets better. In Chapel Hill, I'm AJ Nwoko reporting.
For those 3 students, paying for college has been difficult. But imagine being accepted to your dream university only to discover you can't attend because you don't qualify for financial aid. That's the struggle one student is facing, all because he's an undocumented immigrant. Jose Valle is a student at Durham Tech, but he was supposed to attend UNC.
So I got accepted, and like everyone else did, but I didn't qualify, first of all, for in-state tuition.
That's because Valle is undocumented.
We came here 12 years ago. I was 7.
And federal law requires he pay out-of-state tuition, a difference of about $27,000 a year. North Carolina has about 31,000 undocumented students, making it the 9th highest state. Only 2.5% of those students will go to college, which means in North Carolina, around 775.
They're hurting American workers, they're hurting American students.
President of ALPAC, William Geen, fought against House Bill 904, which proposed in-state tuition for undocumented immigrants who graduated from a North Carolina high school. Geen says illegal immigrants take seats away from North Carolina citizens.
In others, that would create a situation where North Carolina taxpayers would be forced to subsidy their own children being replaced in the very limited seats of the finer colleges.
A recent Decision Maker poll shows 76.3% of North Carolinians did not support in-state tuition for illegal immigrants, a heartbreaking number for undocumented students.
I don't understand what you would say, or why they would say we're taking someone's seat. We're not taking anybody's seat.
These students want to be
an example to many other students.
I want to help other people. I want to have a voice.
Offer in-state tuition for illegal immigrants. North Carolina doesn't, but allows undocumented students who graduated from state high schools to enroll, provided they pay out-of-state tuition.
In less than 2 hours, we should know who the next student body president will be. Our live election special starts at 6:30. Candidate Catherine Walker and supporters of Houston Summers were out in the pit this afternoon trying to get last-minute support. We'll all find out tonight who will take the office next year. Summers was in the lead last week with 36.5% of the vote. Walker had 26.3%, putting the two into tonight's runoff.
Some university workers have to spend hours outside, even when it's bitterly cold.
Science now suggests working in the cold could have a specific health benefit. That's next. A new scientific finding suggests spending time in the cold weather we're experiencing could change your fat cells into calorie-burning powerhouses. Reporter Ben Smart has more.
To prepare the campus.
Doing spraying for ice and snow, part of our job. We have to be here if it snows, whatever.
He bundles up to stay warm.
Jackets, long johns.
How does spending so much time in freezing temperatures affect his body? Dr. Tamara Branca says time in the cold could actually help your waistline.
If you are exposing to a cold environment, you start to burn fat.
A growing body of research suggests that spending time in cold temperatures, like this snowy day, increase the activity of what's called brown fat, fat that actually burns calories and can help you lose weight.
So brown fat is a type of fat that, like the normal white fat that everybody is familiar with, actually burns calorie to produce heat.
You see, there are two kinds of body fat, white and brown. When your body is exposed to cold, you start to shiver. After a while, shivering stops, and your brown fat activity revs up to produce tons of heat by burning white fat.
Before I start to work on brown fat, I must say that I always complain about the cold temperature in my house. But now I think that it's good to have, your thermostat a little bit lowered.
Lower temperatures to help maintain a healthy weight.
It's better than being in the hot, too.
For workers like Aiken, there are benefits to working outside in the winter, as long as they're careful to cover up and take breaks. In Chapel Hill, I'm Ben Smart reporting.
Sounds like I should spend a little more time outside this winter. One NASA scientist even invented an ice jacket to stimulate brown fat. Now we know not all fat is created equal.
It's like a flash mob, but with kissing. One gathering in Carborough celebrated all kinds of love this weekend with a group kissing event. The event was called Make Out on Main Street. In flash dance style, couples came together to make out right at 2:14 p.m. because 2:14 is the date of Valentine's Day, in order to celebrate marriage equality. This was the first year of the event and included dancing, music, and most importantly, couples making out with the people they love.
The Ackland Art Museum is helping people feel one with art through its Yoga in the Galleries program. And you might be extra inspired by some rare Picasso paintings on display. Members of the community are invited to find peace and tranquility through yoga moves inspired by the gallery's art. Yoga instructor Joanne Marshall leads the class in the middle of the museum, teaching participants to become one with the world of art. The class is held most Mondays, and the Ackland provides all equipment. Members of the community are invited to find peace and tranquility. And 3 rare Picasso paintings are on display at the museum. The portraits donated by UNC alum and billionaire Julianne Robertson are from 3 different time periods, but all focus on the human head. Ackland officials hope students will learn about his art before the exhibit ends on March 8th.
The snow is coming down again in Chapel Hill, and the weather is about to get significantly colder.
Drew Day has the bone-chilling forecast next.
Welcome back to Carolina Week, everyone. I'm Drew Day. Thanks for staying with us. We'll start outside with current temperature. It is 34 degrees. And again, as we mentioned at the top of the newscast, it is snowing out there. It will end in just a few moments. But that, as a result of that snow, it has cooled our temperature down to near freezing. So we'll be dropping below freezing here within the next few minutes. Our dew point is at 28 and the winds are calm as of the last observation, but it is a little breezy out there. The snow has been blowing around. Now, the satellite across the state shows that we do have some clouds approaching from the west. That's bringing those snow showers with us. They're a little convective out there this evening, which means you may hear a little clasp of thunder perhaps, but it wouldn't be a large occurrence. It would be very random that you might see that, but don't be surprised if you do. We also see a little bit of white showing up right in here. That's the leftover snowfall that occurred yesterday, and that melting is still taking place. We're now seeing more snow showers this evening on top of that, so we could have an additional ½ an inch later on this evening. Now, across the rest of the country, we do have an area of low pressure with the cold front stretching back down from it, and this cold front will be pushing across the state, and behind it, it will be bringing in very cold temperatures. An Arctic air mass will be moving in. In fact, we'll be seeing record low temperatures later on this week, which we'll talk about in just a second. But first, a wind chill advisory has been issued for all of central North Carolina this evening, and that is because we will be seeing some strong winds out there. This lasts from midnight right on to 9 a.m. on Friday. So this is all day tomorrow that we'll be dealing with strong winds. They'll be gusting 10 to 15 miles per hour. I'm sorry, sustained 10 to 15 miles per hour and gusting up to 30. The wind chills will be below zero, somewhere between -15 and 0, depending on the wind speed at that moment. So very chilly tomorrow. Make sure you bundle up. This is dangerously cold weather that we are talking about here. Also, real quickly, we'll go back here to this map to show you that just in the last few minutes, the National Weather Service has issued a winter weather advisory for the snow showers that we've seen out there this evening. This is for the potential of black ice. This will be right around Wake, Chatham, Orange, Durham counties, and points northward along the North Carolina-Virginia border, including Person, Granville, Vance, Wake, and Warren. So it's all these counties that are going to see some snow showers, but they will be ending within the next 30 minutes or so, and that will be it for this snow round, and then we'll be done at least for the next 5 days here. Now we'll quickly run through our upper level winds here. This is the geopotential height. The winds are running parallel to these lines, so this wind is coming right down out of Canada into our state. So throughout the day tomorrow, we'll be dealing with this northerly wind driving down that colder air into the state. On Thursday evening, we'll be seeing temperatures drop down into the single digits, right around 2 degrees. And then that will continue right on into Sunday as well. But then a little bit as we head into the weekend, the flow will start to flatten out just a bit here, and then winds will start to come up from the south, which will mean that we'll see some moderation in our temperatures later on this evening. So for tonight, temperatures will drop down to right around 10 degrees. Winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. By tomorrow morning, they'll be right around 11. 16 is as warm as we're getting tomorrow. And then for the 5-day forecast, only 22 on Friday afternoon, but we'll start the day at 2 degrees, and then we'll see just a little bit of moderation over the weekend on Sunday into Monday. But these next 2 days, very cold.
2 degrees Thursday night. That has to be a new record. Yes,
11 degrees is the old record for the state in 1979. We'll break that for sure.
Gosh, I can't believe those numbers. I wish they would cancel classes for cold weather.
We'll have to wait and see.
Thank you, Drew.
You're welcome.
Can Tar Heels men's basketball ship?
When the team faces Duke and Durham tonight, Molly Oak is next with sports.
For over 70 years.
Welcome back to Carolina Week Sports. I'm Molly Oak. It's finally here. Carolina basketball is taking an 8-mile trip down the road to face the Duke Blue Devils. The latest installment in the epic saga could be a good one. Luis Fernandez has more.
UNC, Duke, the greatest rivalry in all of college basketball, full of the euphoria of victory and the agony of defeat. Some of the biggest names in college basketball have played in this rivalry: Leitner, Jordan, Hill, O, and Stackhouse.
By Swicker. Stackhouse. Oh, America, are you serious?
UNC has looked shaky in the past 2 games, to say the least. Carolina has lost 3 of the past 4 since that heartbreaking overtime loss in the KFC Yum Center against Louisville. UNC is giving up 77.5 points per game in that stretch. If they don't turn things around soon, the Heels could be looking at another 6 or 8 seed like the past 2 years, which means another top 3 matchup in the second round of the NCAA tournament. But nothing turns things around like a win against Duke, so what's Carolina going to do to beat the Blue Devils? It starts with defense. Duke scores 80.3 points per game. How do the Blue Devils do it? Great three-point shooting for starters. 4 Duke players have made at least 20 three-pointers this season. Compare that to UNC's 2. Then there's the monster that is Jahlil Okafor. This guy is ridiculous. 18 points and 9 rebounds per game. On offense, let Marcus Page control the game on the outside and let Bryce Johnson and Kennedy Meeks go to work on the inside. If Johnson and Meeks stay out of foul trouble, they can take advantage of Okafor, who struggles a bit at protecting the rim. Remember this play?
Sending it in with authority over the big fella.
If Carolina just stays focused, the Tar Heels could be celebrating on Franklin Street tonight.
With all the snow and ice, everyone here hopes Duke can make the long journey to Cameron Indoor. If we learned anything last year, we did learn that the Blue Devils aren't big fans of that frozen stuff. And we don't like them very much, but we do have to admit that Duke students are pretty smart, with one glaring exception. Let's go live now to Kville and our reporter, Kylie McCoy.
Molly, that one big exception is this. Basketball tickets are hard to come by, but what sane person would spend weeks living in a tent just for basketball tickets?
Camping out in a tent during the coldest months of the year sounds crazy to most people. And it's not until temperatures drop below 25 degrees that the camping crazies are allowed to leave their tents.
There's been multiple days when it's hovered around 26 or 25, and that's really miserable. You're just kind of looking at your iPhone and just thinking, oh man, please, for the love of God, go below 25. And sometimes it doesn't, and it sucks.
Students will do anything to keep warm. Sleeping bags, blankets, and alcohol. And there's one tent that has something special, a handmade generator.
We have also this battery in there, and so if the tent catches fire or somehow the battery explodes, we're all gonna die, and that will be the saddest thing ever.
Rag Haraman, who grew up in Seattle, wasn't always a Duke fan. So what does his family think about all of this?
My mom tells me every day, like, what are you doing? I've Skyped her a couple of times in the tent, and she immediately just clicks the off button. She just doesn't even want to see me in there.
The Cameron crazies are nothing short of crazy. But is living in a tent for weeks at a time really worth it?
It's tradition, and it's my last year, senior year, and you live for those types of moments.
At least the Cameron crazies won't have to sleep out here tonight in the snow. And when Drew Day is predicting temperatures to drop to 2 degrees tonight, the Tar Heels need to make sure the Blue Devils have no reason to be outside tonight for post-game celebration. Molly?
That was Kylie McCoy taking her life into her own hands there, battling the snow and being in enemy territory. Thanks, Kylie. The public memorial service for Dean Smith will be held this Sunday at 2 p.m. at the Smith Center. Admission is free and seats will be available on a first-come, first-served basis. Doors will open at 1 p.m. The ceremony will be streamed on GoHeels.com, ESPN3, and UNC's YouTube channel.
Lots of college students need no excuse to have a beer.
And hey, downing a cold one helps a growing part of the state's economy. So let's just say we're doing our part.
The beer aisle in many grocery stores keeps expanding. That's because brewers in North Carolina are on the move. Reporter Alexis Simmons tells us just how important the beer economy has become in North Carolina.
The beer economy is booming, and it's bringing in the bucks. $791 million a year in North Carolina. Home brewer turned CEO of Mystery Brewing Company in Hillsborough, Eric Lars Meyer, says getting into the business isn't easy.
It was a big risk then, it's still a big risk now. It's a huge, huge financial investment to start a brewery.
That risk goes beyond the expenses and pours into politics too. Chief Executive Optimist of Full Steam Brewery in Durham, Sean Lilly Wilson, was a leader of the Pop the Cap movement in 2003.
We worked for 3 years as volunteers to change this law that lifted the alcohol cap from 6 to 15%.
When that cap opened, so did the appeal for more brewers in the state. Home brewer and creator of Starpoint Brewing of Carrboro, Tim Harper, says the law was a pivotal moment.
And now you could actually make beer that had more ingredients, varied ingredients, varied alcohol contents.
There are more than 100 breweries in North Carolina, like this one that you see right here. But what you might not know is how they got their start or how they affect the local economy.
For Wilson, his ultimate goal is building what he calls a Southern beer economy. This means buying local and investing in agricultural entrepreneurs in the state.
You know, and you think, well, can beer have the same economic impact as tobacco has had historically? Absolutely.
In 3 years, the number of licensed brewers in North Carolina has doubled to about 130, one of the largest increases in the nation. Brewers say there are some obstacles they still need to barrel through.
We're still working with laws in the books that were written in 1938, 1939, post-prohibition.
Right now, beer activists in North Carolina are pushing for a change in distribution laws so they can produce more beer, leading to more growth. In Durham, I'm Alexis Simmons reporting.
Thanks for watching.
Good night, everyone. Beat Duke.